Hi, welcome to the A.D.K Rock and Metal channel. My name is Kirk and I'm delighted today to be joined by some special guests. I'm talking about one of the finest progressive post-metal bands in Europe. Specifically, this band is from Belgium. If you haven't heard them, the name is Hippotraktor, and they released their sophomore album, Stasis, on the 7th of June. And I'm joined on the channel by the main songwriter, Kieran Verheyden, who you're also a producer, I believe, Kieran, aren't you, besides being the guitarist and songwriter?
Correct.
Excellent. And I am familiar, actually, with our other guest, Stefan de Grijf, who's also the vocalist in that great Belgian progressive post-metal band Psychonauts, who our sister organisation are big fans of at Scream Blast Repeat. So, guys, I'm going to get right into this. You strike me as artists that do not listen to heavy guitar music when writing and recording an album. So what music have you been listening to since you finished recording Stasis?
I think, what have I been listening to? That's a really boring answer, but a lot of Megadeth actually. I rediscovered them. I was a really big fan. I think when I was say 18, I think. I guess we've come full circle. It's been a little over 10 years, 11 even, and I'm really digging it. Like, they're classics, man. Yeah. So mainly Megadeth, and then maybe some Humanity's Last Breath, I think. So happy stuff. And anything else? Earth, Wind and Fire as well.
Classic songwriting. That's where you learn the craft. Stefan, What about you? What have you been listening to?
I get the last thing I discovered that really blew my mind was a band called Pat Metheny Group. It's like one of those situations where you can't believe you've only discovered them now. It's amazingly beautiful songwriting. I guess it's from the 80s and the 90s, maybe even the 70s. I think the 80s, and that's really been inspirational a lot to me lately. And in terms of heavy stuff, yeah, kind of the same thing as Kiaran. Humanity's Last Breath is something that is really good to come home with after a day of working and to just get some frustration out of your system. Yeah, I'll stick with that.
Pat Metheny, we're talking about the jazz guitar player here, aren't we, and his band?
Yeah.
Riff Lord.
I came across him. He did a collaboration with David Bowie, but a former guitar teacher, I remember saying to me, like, you need to, you'll learn from this guy. He's incredible. And for some reason, I didn't really listen to it, even though that was a guitar teacher that recommended it, who I respected greatly. So, Stefan, I just want to address this next question to you. So I know you for your work with Psychonauts and specifically a 2022 album called Violate Consensus Reality, which is one of the albums of the year for our sister organization, Scream Blast Repeat. But Hippotraktor started as an instrumental progressive trio. So what sparked your interest in joining Kieran's band as the vocalist?
I was just a really big fan, basically. I remember the very first demos he sent me. They were not even finished songs, I think. It was like the very first demo before they recorded the EP. And I thought that was just amazing. And I remember hearing a song which was called Aftermath on the EP. And that was the first song where I ever thought, wow, these guys should have a vocalist, It's good, but it could be even better if they had a really good vocalist. And at no point ever was I thinking that it should be me, because at that point I was nowhere near confident for that. But basically just being a fan, and it's amazing that it has actually become me eventually.
I think you do yourself a disservice. Your vocals are varied on this album. There's 2 or 3 personalities. It's very coherent though, and I think your singing voice, there's a lot more of it on this, perhaps even than the last Psychonaut album. So I thought the vocals were excellent on this, which we'll come to later on when we're talking about some of the songs. You're also the main guitar player in Psychonaut, and then you're watching Kieran compose these songs and play these songs on guitar. Are you ever thinking, can you let me play guitar as well?
No, not really. I just have a really thankful job being the singer. I have literally less work than with Psychonaut. It's in a way much less stressful, I guess, because I only have one job. Yeah, so I think it's good that it's him. We've always played guitar together, you know. It's I've watched him play, and he has seen me play for years and decades even. So yeah, it feels right this way, I think.
So what is the story with you two then? So it sounds like you've grown up together, you know, from your late teenage years onwards. Are you from Mechelen as well, Stefan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So where did you first meet? And have you been in a band together prior to Hippotraktor?
We haven't been in a band before. And where did we meet? I think we were both probably very, very drunk. That's one of the Lepage parties.
Yeah, I think we met first in guitar class though.
Oh God, yes.
Or we saw each other.
We saw each other. I remember it was funny because I used to. I think the first 3 courses I followed to the book, and then the 4th one. By the 4th one, I was so bored, I skipped one and went to the 5th one instead. And there he was again, and I was like, I think I remember him. And then I skipped again because I was still bored, and I went to the 7th group, and he was there again. So I was like, this guy is kind of progressing at the same rate I am. But we just wanted to play solos, I think. So
yeah,
we wanted to get to the electric guitar classes. So yeah, that was first, and then I was, because I think I'm 7 years younger than you.
6 or 7, I think. Yeah.
So
you were like 11.
Yeah,
you were a baby. It was
little mustache. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was playing in a band where the drummer was the brother of your band. So they were both drummers, brothers, and I was playing with the younger brother, and he was playing with the older one. Which eventually that band became Psychonaut.
Yep.
Okay.
My band luckily stopped. So yeah, that's the story actually.
That's interesting, because I was going to say, Kieran, when you listen to Hippotraktor, there's what I call a distinct European progressive post-metal sound, and when you listen to bands like the Ocean Collective, Herod, Psychonaut, and I just know it's going to be quality. So whenever I receive a press release and it's from Pelagic Records or Hummus Records, I'm just like that. I'm like, yes, give me my fix of European sophisticated progressive post-metal. But what is the music scene like then in Mechelen and perhaps even the wider part? Which part of Belgium is Mechelen? Is that in the Dutch-speaking part?
Yeah, that's right. It's between Antwerp and Brussels. So
Right.
Pretty much in the center north, slightly to the east of the country. Yeah. Well, it's there's a lot of, or I guess there's still a lot of metal in Mechelen, and I remember there always having been. I mean, when I say a lot, it's not like there are 100 bands, but I felt like most people I was friends with anyway, or I saw often in bars, all liked rock and metal and were in bands in some form or whatever. And I don't know, I'm sure there's a lot of music. We have a music school here as well. We have some fantastic jazz musicians like Dieter Vagane, who has guests performed on some Psychonaut albums as well. But the crazy thing is that all of the metal bands that originated here like 10 or 5 years ago, let's say, or even before that, they're still going, and most of them are doing pretty well. You have bands like Potamus, Lich, Marche Funèbre. These guys have been playing for a while, and they're all still really going for it and getting somewhere. So it's funny how it goes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I need to listen to that band, Lich, because I know that who is it in your band that's also a member of Lich?
It was Sander, our second guitarist and singer, but he left the band a few months ago.
He left Lich a few months ago.
No, he left Hippotraktor actually.
Oh,
I
really?
left Lich.
Yeah, and Kieran played in Lich, and he left Lich. Which it sounds like there was a fight or something, but it was just nothing like that.
We just wanted to focus on our own music, I think. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Didn't know that. So who writes lyrics in the band?
I do.
Yeah, there's a lot of introspection inevitably with music like this, but there's some really impressive quiet moments, certainly on that song Silver Tongues. And when I'm watching you in the video for Renegade, there's the pop shield on the microphone, and when you're projecting, you like lean back and you can see it on the camera. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really like watching that. Is this an album though, lyrically, about self-discovery and also the realization that human selfishness will be the end of civilization? Is it that kind of theme? What are you addressing on this album?
It's a bit less extreme than that, but it's definitely an exploration story. It is the story of a human being, the same character from our first album, Meridian, who is now for the first time ever coming into contact with other humans, and he learns their ways, and he discovers their good sides, their benevolent sides, their kindness, but also, like you say, their greed and selfishness. He discovers things like corruption, people not really playing by the rules, because, well, there's not really an objective story to life. There's not really something you have to do, so you might as well just be a selfish asshole and just maximize your self-interest and just consume and enjoy, right? There's no reason why you shouldn't, I guess. So he encounters that narrative and he kind of gets engulfed in it. And the Silver Tongues are the people that kind of tell him this story and drag him down with it. And they are, of course, the people he eventually rebels against and tries to defeat, because he realizes that, yeah, I could do this, but it doesn't feel good, and there is much more to this. And I think humanity is more than a consuming, selfish species. We could be bigger than this, and he discovers this after his death, of course, which the album is retroactively narrated after his death, which is when he realizes that. And I guess that's kind of the story of Stasis in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think that's what distinguishes the European progressive post-metal, from your likes of Neurosis and Sumac and bands like that. It's just musically it's as grandiose, but a lot of what I class the American post-metal, which I'm a big fan of, that's got a lot more. It's more about the individual and personal misery and trauma, isn't it? Whereas this is more philosophical from an abstract point of view. Certainly when you listen to The Ocean and Herod and Psychonaut, and then now we can put Hippotraktor in there. I think that's what distinguishes the European angle of this music, what makes it so distinctive. I mean, Kieran, when you've written this music, what do you say to Stefan? Just write whatever you want, or do you give him guidelines? Can you write a song about this theme, or just leave it entirely to him?
With Meridian, our first album, he could do whatever he wanted. There wasn't really a story for me. I just wrote songs I enjoyed, and then it was up to him to create a narrative. But with this one, I knew what I was writing about, and well, for me, it was I wanted him to still be able to write about his own personal ventures, but I thought it might be interesting if I just told him what I was writing about and see what would happen. And he just went from there, I think. So
yeah,
I had an idea, and I really wanted to write
an album about, well, maybe impurity is the right word, and that's really, that was the starting point for Stefan, and he just built an entire story around this very simple thing I told him. So it was cool to see how my intention was brought to life myself. So.
Yeah, do you know at the beginning when I said it strikes me that you don't listen to heavy music when you're recording? What I meant by that is that a lot of bands I interview, they won't listen to metal when they're writing and recording because they don't want to be influenced, you know, by anything contemporary. You already know what your sound should be like. And when I reviewed this album for our sister organization, I said that this is the type of heavy music that prefers Portishead over Diamond Head. But I might be wrong on that. So as a light-hearted question, can I have your 3 favorite bands from these artists that have all got the word head in the title? So I'm going to list them now, okay? So this is the list. So we've got Machine Head, Motorhead, Radiohead, Mushroom Head, Diamond Head, Portishead, and Buckethead, who was that guitar player in Guns N' Roses, who also has that's 7 artists. I can repeat those instinctively. You don't have to remember which would be your favorite 3 from that list.
Well, I'd say Motorhead first.
Same
for me.
Yeah.
Second is hard.
I think Mushroom Head, you know,
It sounds
so
fun.
long. I know it's been so long since I've heard that, but I remember liking it. So I kind of want to go for that.
I never heard about that band until now. So.
Trance.
Oh shit!
Crazy stuff.
So you agree on Motorhead. Stefan wants to put Mushroom Head in there. Kieran's not heard of them, so I don't think we can put that one in. You've got to agree on 2 more. So Machine Head,
Right.
Radiohead, Portishead, Diamond Head, that British new wave of the British heavy metal band, and Buckethead.
I think Portishead is a definite number 2 for me. Not sure about you.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
So you just
I kind of want to. Yeah, I'll go with Radiohead then. If I have to choose, I like Machine Head, but Radiohead is so unique, and
this is one of those bands where I feel like I should know them better, but I just don't.
And I've tried to get into them, but I just never could.
I was in the same situation, and then I heard The Smile. You know that band? Like the final episode of Peaky Blinders?
Right.
Had that song. I thought, what is this? And then it was The Smile, and it's from Tom York from Radiohead. And then I finally filled that gap in my
I should have finished Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
I got to season 4 on that Peaky Blinders and then lost. I really enjoyed it. See,
it's fun.
What I like about your choices is, I think the point I'm trying to make is this is heavy music, but a lot of people might say philosophical, art school. So everyone would be like Radiohead, Portishead, and straight away you're just like, no, Motorhead number 1.
Yeah.
So not at all what I was expecting.
Definitely.
And yeah, Kieran, I'm a bit like you. I mean, I grew up with Radiohead, you know, when they were a guitar rock band, the Bends and OK Computer. I remember buying those, and I didn't like Kid A, and I never really bothered with them after that. And I think probably what puts me off Radiohead, certainly in this country, is they're just held up as the greatest band of all time.
Right.
And when you just see that in the press all the time, it just annoys you, doesn't it? It's like they're overrated. There's better bands. So we've gone for Motorhead. I did expect Portishead to be in there because they are influential on dark music, aren't they? Like Björk.
Yeah.
Björk's very influential on experimental, even metal music. So yeah, I can understand that. So let's actually talk about the album Stasis then, which is your sophomore record. What was the most difficult song to complete for this album, and why?
Stasis.
Okay. That's the penultimate song on the album. 7 minutes, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a long one, but they're all long. So
Yeah.
I had a sort of narrative for the song, but I got stuck. And I don't remember where. I think it was around the solo mark where I just did not know what to do, and I felt it might need a guitar solo, but I hate guitar solos. Well, not guitar solos in general. I don't like my own solos, so that's
As a Megadeth fan, I'm sure you do like guitar solos.
Yeah.
of course, but I like Dave Mustaine solos, but not my own. So I was like, nah, I don't feel a solo. It's the fun kept telling me that it needs a solo, but then eventually I did write the solo, but there were so many parts that just wouldn't fit together. But I knew they had to be like this, or they had to be combined in some way. And I couldn't do it, man. But then I did, so I'm happy I persisted. But it was not fun to write. Holy shit!
Yeah, I bet it's not fun to learn. I've seen your finger movements. It's a jazz fusion solo. It's very technical. Stefan, you must have been impressed by the solo in this song.
Of course, man. Yeah, it's fucking great.
It's not a difficult solo, and a solo doesn't have to be difficult, but it should
True.
be tasteful, and that was my main objective: writing something that's tasteful and that
Tells a story as well. And I don't think I'm such a technical player, or I don't feel very comfortable. Well, that's the thing. No, that's not true. There's this thing where I feel like whenever there's a solo coming, you have to make space in the arrangement of the song. So that means making sure that all the other instrumentation pulls back to make room for the guitar. But if you do this, you're very exposed. So I expose myself, and I hate that. But I just can't stop doing it. So if it was just guns blazing and guitars shredding over that would be easy. But it's also cheesy. So
Yeah, you're right about that. In fact, I've got some notes on this song. It's one of the three I want to discuss, Stasis. So, first of all, I think, Stefan, your vocals, you're really... The aggression, it's almost like you're a grizzly bear. You know, you're just letting out all this anger at the beginning. But even that is still quite therapeutic. And then you tone it down and you find a bit of solace in almost like a whispered melodic voice, which again is very impressive, and the contrast between those. And yeah, I did mention when I listened to it, I did pick up on the jazz solo and how you actually bring things down a bit, and the other instruments do withdraw, don't they, to allow you to do that. And then at the end, I think it's so heavy at the end, isn't it? You've got this like down strumming, and then it's almost not like a breakdown, but you know, you can certainly hear that Meshuggah type crushing sound as well. So yeah, I think this is definitely a standout. So Stefan, lyrically, what is this song? What point are you addressing on Stasis?
It's kind of the most basic description of what the protagonist is fighting. It's the stasis means the state of the society that he dislikes, but that he doesn't see changing anytime soon, because the people who don't play by the rules get away with it, and they become much too powerful. So there's really nothing you can do about it. You're just fighting the stasis. And I use the word pillars a lot, all throughout the album. And it's also a reference to first album. But watching the pillars fall is what he wants to achieve. The pillars of this concrete, static thing that is kind of keeping humanity in its grasp, that he wants to fight. Yeah, that's basically what it's about, and it's a pretty hopeful song actually. It's maybe the first song where he believes that he might actually be able to do something, because he says he's the bringer of the sun. He's the one that is going to make the change. So usually our albums have that one really positive song. On Meridian it was Juncture, conceptually then, and that's what the hopeful song is This Time. It's the title track.
Yeah, it's got repeat listening value. It's one that I've gone back to, you know, when I'm listening to the album. It definitely stands out for me. And the interesting thing, when I picked out my favorite songs, 2 of them are actually video singles as well. So we clearly agree on this, don't we? Track number 1's not a video single, Descent, 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Great start to the album. And I was expecting quite a gradual build-up, and it just comes straight in, doesn't it? With this like surprise burst of drop tune guitars. And it reminds me a bit, you know, of the American noise rock band Helmet. It's got some like similar riffing to that. So I really caught my attention. And yeah, the structure of this song, I've noticed, Kieran, there isn't much repetition in your music, is there? And that's definitely not a bad thing. Bear in mind, this is progressive metal, but there's not one song on here be like verse 2, bridge, chorus, repeat, middle 8. And Stefan, you seem to, I think that helps you because you can really just put your range of emotions in there as well. But I said in my review, I think you can fill the void left by Herod because they've split now, haven't they? You know, your label mates.
Sadly.
Yeah. I think he lives on a farm, doesn't he, Pierre? And he's just had enough. You know, he's got a family to raise. But there's parts of this where you'd think this was the new album by Caligula's Horse, that Australian prog metal band as well. And then at the end, it's just so heavy. So Kieran, I want to understand. It's linear, this music. How does a song like this evolve? Because to some people, they might think this doesn't have any direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard. That's the main thing I'd say. Yeah, it's not. The entire album has been shitty to write, just because there is no repetition, and I keep having to invent things. But this is also a deliberate choice, I think, mainly because. And this isn't really a great reason, but I really wanted to explore for one, and that's good. But I was afraid for our second album for it to be boring.
No, it's definitely not.
I really thank you. I'm happy you say that because I tried my utmost best to not be boring. So that was the main reason I wanted to have it be surprising every way all of the time, which is, I think, exactly what has happened and what I've made. So that's cool. But there's the downside of it being difficult. Really having the listener to invest in the story and invest in multiple listens before you start to really grasp what's going on. And well, it's very cool as progressive music does this, I think. But I'm also curious to see if it's where it gets me if I don't try to hide behind complex song structures. So it's been a difficult journey, and I'm pretty tired after writing this thing. And since it wasn't fun to write, I think I'm really looking forward to creating things I do enjoy now.
Yeah,
I'm curious, and I'm also very happy to see how many people seem to connect with what we've created. But the journey was so difficult. And I'm ready for something else.
I think that's good that it's not just predictable structures, and there's a lot of breathing room in this music, isn't there? I can tell that both of you want to make sure that comes through, even though it's very heavy. You've got up and down dynamics, and it is progressive music, so I don't think anyone should be surprised that you don't really know what's coming next.
Of course.
And there's the other song that stands out for me, and again, good video for this, and we've already mentioned it, Stefan, Silver Tongue, and you've told us what that's about. And that the intro is really, really fascinating to me, because you have this unusual combination of these drop-tuned guitars and then these mid-range melodic arpeggios, and your brain's trying to unscramble them both. You're like, what is going on here? Because there's such a contrast. And then I just love how it drops into this quieter moment, and it's got this rotating guitar that almost sounds like a synthesizer. I was saying to Stefan off camera, I've got it in my head all day. It's really ambitious as well, how it leads into what I guess you could almost call a chorus. So it's really atmospheric, and there's actually a breakdown in the song at the end, isn't there? Which you never get in post-metal, and that just took me by surprise. So I think I described it. It sounds like the band Voivod half-timing one of their own like spacey guitars. It's just so weird. Will you be playing this one live, Silver Tongue? Will this be like in the last part of the set, or do you think you might even open with this song?
Yeah, we played it live a couple times, but I'm not sure if we're gonna though.
Yeah, it's a hard one to play live. I don't know why exactly, but it's such a difficult tempo when it starts, and it has to be super tight, and maybe that's why. And it's also very hard to sing. So
Yeah.
it's a challenging one. I'm not sure if it's the best live track.
That's weird. Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a superb live track, and it totally isn't.
You get
So-
that.
Yeah. Maybe you have to try a bit more, but
Yeah, we
I
might.
noticed the audience as well not really connecting with it the way it works on an album. So it's interesting to me how you never know how your music is gonna behave in a live context.
Yeah, there's great examples of that. You know, the band The Cure, the English band, one of my favorite bands, and they have a single from the early 1980s called The Hanging Garden, which they just never play live because they say we just, for whatever reason, they just cannot capture that live. They just can't do it justice. So yeah, it does happen, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly that. So before we wrap the interview up then, so you did say that, I mean, it was on good terms, that Xander Rom has left the band and he's gone back to Lich, and Kieran used to play in that band. So you're now a four-piece, and we know actually Stefan is a highly accomplished guitar player if you need him. But what is the future from here then? So how committed are you to the future of Hippotraktor? Because you've written this great album, but it might just disappear if you don't get on the road and start touring, or what are you going to do about that?
Yeah, the good thing is we very quickly found a great replacement for Sander. We actually played our release show even with Christoph, is the person who is playing with us now. Amazing guitarist, amazing singer. So we're very fortunate to have found him. He doesn't quite have the range as Sander does, but nobody on the planet does. So it's totally fine. So we're kind of rearranging some vocal melodies here and there. But yeah, we've got this covered. The live shows are going really well. We had an amazing festival summer already. And yeah, 2 tours coming up, a lot of club shows in Belgium as well. So we're going on the road very often.
Which festivals did you play this year? Did you play Soul Crusher and what's the famous one, the Dutch one, that's the most prestigious, Roadburn? Have you played that one yet?
No, we're playing Soul Crusher next year or this year.
This year.
Yeah, at the end of the year, we're playing Soul Crusher. And in Belgium, we played Alcatraz Festival.
Alcatraz, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. We played Motoculture in France. We played Canecas in Spain. We played no, not this year, Arctangent, but last year we did, and the year before that. Just so many cool festivals. Yeah.
Yes, you were. I know Psychonaut played Arctangent, didn't they? So did Hippotraktor play it last year?
Yeah, we played with
okay.
Hippotraktor on the Wednesday, and then we cycled up on the Saturday.
Oh, you were there twice then.
Yeah,
Hey, that could be.
I went back home in between the shows to play them shows.
Well, it's easy enough, isn't it, to go from Belgium to England? Read
It's
read
fantastic.
Julius Caesar, the Gallic Wars, Belgium. They flick between Britain and Belgium, what's modern day Belgium, don't they?
It could be easy,
Yeah,
but it isn't.
it shouldn't be. But
Yeah.
I wonder how many. Do you know? You could be in a select group of people who've played Arctangent twice on the same bill with different bands.
Yep.
I wonder how many have done that.
Yeah.
What was your experience like of that, Kieran, when you Arctangent in England?
Oh, it's great, man. Yeah, I was a real bummer that we didn't get to play this year. I was jealous of you.
It was, twice in a row, I think. Every bit is beautiful. The people are great. The response we've gotten is amazing. Yeah.
And it was the first time we played there was the biggest crowds at that point
Yeah,
we had ever had, right?
for 3,000 people.
Wow.
It was on. It's like James, the organizer. He just likes to book bands that aren't very big yet, but that he loves himself, and he just puts them on the main stage.
Yeah.
And he did that with us in 22,
That was insane.
and that was ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, you already had an album out, to be fair, didn't you? You know, you've got that debut,
Sure.
Yeah.
and then you
But
have
still.
Meridian.
Yeah. But still, it's crazy to put us on the main stage. It was like at 12:30, I think, at noon.
We had never played for that many people.
No way.
And so that was well, at first when we got there, I was really anxious because I thought like no one's gonna show up. We're gonna play for 100 people, and if there's 100 people here, it'll feel as if there's no one. So this is gonna suck. And then by the time we got on, it was packed, and I was equally blown away. Like, where did they come from? Holy shit. So, yeah, that was definitely one I will never forget.
Is there an
Yeah.
element of absurdity there? You know, you just said the fear is that you're going to be playing, say, to 100 people in this big open air festival. It's because your music takes so much energy out of you, doesn't it? You put everything into it. Is there like, are you thinking, oh, this will be tragic because we're going to be shedding calories and putting our anxiety and projecting it live, and there's not anyone really paying attention? Is that the fear?
It has happened. I mean, and that's fine. So
Yeah.
it's really no problem in there not being many people. It doesn't really matter, but it's. I'm not sure why it would bother me. For today it would bother me less than it would have back then, I think. So the fact that if there's gonna be 100 people or 1,000, we're gonna play the same show, I think. But
Yeah.
there's one big difference, and that's, of course, if there are a lot of people and that's the most important thing, I think. They're giving us energy through their own means of projecting their enjoyment of what we're doing, and it's this feedback loop that's just it gets more amazing over time. So a show like that is so much fun. So I think always the most important and the most fun thing is that you've got a crowd that gives a shit.
Yeah.
So we've played for crowds who didn't give a shit, and that's also fine.
Sometimes like hundreds or even 1,000 people.
Yeah,
And-
they sometimes just don't care so much, or it feels as if they don't care. And these shows are so enjoyable because you're trying to keep the energy high, even though you're not getting any.
Yeah.
That's not so much fun, but I think it keeps you grounded, not always having a fun crowd.
Yeah, you don't strike me as people who would take it personally.
No.
No one's got a right, have they, to get an instant reaction? And I think your music is introspective enough where you can still externalize a lot of that anxiety and play within yourselves on the stage, can't you? If that was the case, I think it's ideal for that.
Yeah.
Sure. And the fun thing is, even though there's been shows where the audience wasn't really into it, we thought, and then we sold a ton of merch. So
Yeah,
you never really know, man.
no.
Just know.
Yeah, well, I'm going to wrap things up there then. So thanks for joining us on the channel. I just want to remind our viewers that Stasis came out on the 7th of June and it's released by Pelagic Records, vinyl, CD. Obviously, you can download it or stream it. Go and buy some merch. Go and buy the album. Come on, let's incentivize people. Go out there, start buying music again. That £12 subscription to fucking Spotify. I know it gets you every song in the world, but it doesn't help any artist by doing that. Can I just ask, actually, Pelagic Records, such a prestigious label, how did the deal come about with them? Did they approach you or did you send a demo to them?
I guess we contacted them. Yeah, it was at the time. I think the Psychonaut deal was about a year old or so, and that's when we started writing for Hippotraktor. And because we had the connection, our manager from Psychonaut, who's also now Hippotraktor's manager, we sent him the demos. He loved them, and he sent them to Robin from Pelagic. And the shortest email I've ever seen came back like, "Holy shit, let's fucking go! I'm in." And we had a deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. And Arctangent, you know, the guy who organizes that, he just loves those post-metal bands from Hent, doesn't he? And the European Mail.
Yeah.
And as soon as you got signed to Pelagic Records, it's clear that he was just going to be going through looking, right, who've they signed recently? Because he's like me. He knows he's going to like the music, doesn't he? Because you can trust that label. So, yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the channel. And hopefully we won't have to wait, too long for the next record. Are you going to be, other than the Arctangent Festival appearance last year, just tell our viewers, you said you've got a couple of tours coming up supporting other bands. Can you give us some information on that?
Sure. We're on tour starting October 24th. We will be in Belgium, in the Netherlands, Germany, and UK. We've even got a show in Wales, in Cardiff. And then next year we'll also be doing pretty much the same countries, although we'll also be going to Scandinavia to play our first Norwegian festival. So yeah, you can find all of the dates on our social media and our Bandcamp as well. So hope to see you there one day.
I'll see you at the London one then. Yeah.
Nice.
Are you headlining? Are you supporting another band?
Is it Damnation Festival or am I?
Oh, you're at that's Manchester, isn't it? Damnation.
Yeah, you might be right.
But you'll be at
sure.
the London one. I'm trying to think which one it will be.
I don't think, especially because we're the only non-UK band,
Yeah,
I don't think we're headlining any
No.
of the UK dates.
Okay.
No. we've
I'll
got
try and go
got
to-
some rotating lineups. We're headlining the Belgian show and the
Berlin.
That makes sense.
We're
Yeah.
just kind of switching strategically, I guess.
Yeah. Who is the other band then that you, or is it different bands at different countries?
Sugar Horse, and I'm not unsure how to pronounce the next one, but we would say Pan in Dutch. But
Oh, is it spelled Pijn?
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Manchester instrumental post-rock band. Yeah, I like
That's the
that
one.
band.
So how do we pronounce them?
Yeah, I think, like you said, the Dutch word, we've
Yeah.
somehow anglicized it, and I think
All
we
right.
say pine.
Fine.
Oh yeah.
It is. I've checked it. They have actually chosen the Dutch word. They just don't know how to pronounce it.
Oh shit! So it should be Pan. All right.
we will school them.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, I think you're more than welcome to school them in that. So is it peen?
Pan.
Pen. Oh, okay. Yeah,
Pan.
it's definitely they're definitely pronouncing it as pine.
Fine.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a big producer here. You know, the guy in that band, Joe Clayton.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
actually is the main one for post metal in England. a lot of the bands go to him, and he mixes and masters their music. So
yeah.
I'll try and go to that one then. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually originally from nearer to Manchester, but I live on the outskirts of London at the moment, just through work. You know, I've lived here for 10 years, so yeah, I'll definitely try and catch that. That'll be fantastic. Pen and and Hippotraktor.
Yeah.
Superb. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the channel, and I will see you at one of those gigs.
Cool, man.
Cool.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.